I just spent my first 12 hours with the Nintendo Switch 2. Here's how it went. I would first like to point out to the internet that I was right. In my initial reaction to the Switch 2, I claimed this controller was orange, and everyone was telling me, no, it's salmon, no, it's an unsaturated red. This in person is clearly orange. Feels good to be right. So yeah, acquiring this thing was kind of crazy. I had my pre-order at GameStop, but when I showed up to the GameStop, I forgot my receipt. I realized at the door. I was like, anyway, you can pull up my account. And they said no. So I ran back real quick to my apartment. I showed up early to get there early for lining up for the Switch 2. Had to run back, come back to the GameStop, and luckily I made it just in time to make it for the midnight release and get my console. GameStop was packed. I got my Switch early because I was part of the OG crew who pre-ordered theirs a week after they announced the system. So I got my system pretty early relative to other people who were able to order theirs earlier in the day on June 4th. And yeah, I was waiting for my friends to get their Switches after I had mine. I was waiting in line and a bunch of people were swarming around me whoa, can I hold it? I'm like, no. Can't hold my brand new console. And as always, whenever you go to a GameStop midnight release, it did also stink to high heaven in there. Gamers, come on, we gotta beat that stereotype. Just start using soap. It's pretty simple. So, luckily though, despite that kind of chaotic vibe in GameStop, I live in a smaller area, so I wasn't like one of those people who was waiting in line at midnight and then didn't get my console until 2 a.m. Luckily, I was able to get the console and be out of there by 12:20 max. It was pretty nice. It was an in and out experience, overwhelming, but not prolonged. So I get home, set up the console. We have a video on the channel where I unbox the thing and give my initial impressions unboxing that. Got Mario Kart downloaded here. I also downloaded the Gamecube Online. I've been messing around with F-Zero for the last hour. F-Zero GX is a Gamecube game that I missed back in the day, so I was really excited to try that one out, and it is brutal. It is really tough. Took me 4 tries to beat level 1, and I beat it with 1 second to spare on my successful attempt. And then I think before I can progress in the story, I have to beat level 1 again, but on the hard difficulty. You can correct me in the comments if you've played F-Zero GX and that's not actually how it progresses, but basically I beat level 1. I didn't unlock level 2, just a hard mode for level 1. So I assume it's one of those games where they really want you to get a sense of mastery. And yeah, I have not beat the hard mode of level 1 yet. I moved on after about an hour of messing around in F-Zero, kind of remapping buttons because I don't have a GameCube controller yet to play it with, and the control scheme on the GameCube didn't perfectly translate to my Pro controller here, so I messed around mapping the buttons. I went into practice mode and kind of got the feel for F-Zero, and then I messed around in the story mode and got my butt handed to me. It was a really fun game, really fun game. I got to try out some Mario Kart World with my buddies at Slak Squad. Make sure to subscribe to that channel because that is an all hands on deck team effort. I helped grow that channel from scratch with my buddies Trevor and Caden. I'm actually filming this in the Slak Squad studio right now, so gotta thank them for the location and the resources. But yeah, I got to try out Mario Kart with those boys last night, and first impressions, Grand Prix, the racing to the next race was a cool touch, but ultimately didn't really change the gameplay loop. I felt the biggest noticeable difference is that jump to 28 racers. To accommodate for those 28 racers, a lot of the tracks are much wider now. So there's a lot more chaos in all the items being thrown at people. It feels like a game with aggressive items on, just with normal item settings. And I definitely attribute that to double the racers being on the track for the first time here in this game. Since the tracks themselves are so much wider too, they tend to fill up the space with a lot more obstacles. So if you think of how in Moo Moo Meadows, there's cows in the middle of the field, you have to dodge them. They have a lot more stages where they'll throw Goombas in your way. They'll put cars like Moonview Highway on the street that also launch projectiles your way. They put a lot more stage hazards on the tracks. to not make these wider, bigger courses feel so empty. I also like how wide these tracks are. I like this change personally because it gives me a lot more room to drift around. It'll definitely take some getting used to. It does give the game a very distinct feel compared to all Mario Karts before it. But so far, I'm enjoying the change. I haven't free roamed too much, so I can't speak a whole lot on that yet. But let me tell you, the standout mode on Mario Kart World is Knockout Tour. Basically, you enter a string of 6 races where, kind of like how they advertise the Grand Prix, you're just going from race to race. There's no like loading, buffering time. You don't have to wait for all the racers to get across the finish line to get to the next race. Instead, on race number 1, you have to be in the top 20 to progress to the next race. And then you have to be in the top 16 to progress to the next race. And so on and so forth until you get to race number 6. There's only 4 people left after all the eliminations. And your goal, of course, is to be number 1. The mode was super electric, super fun. Definitely, I think, more the proof of concept of what Mario Kart World could be, and is. I've really only scratched the surface with this game, and I'm trying to speed up this recording so I can get right back to it. I really like the music and the aesthetic of the game, of course. One thing we did notice is the game ran perfectly fine with 2-player split screen, but as soon as we had a 3-player split screen situation going, docked. The game was running at a slower frame rate, and like a noticeably lower frame rate. So considering how much they've been toting the power of this thing, and a big selling point of the Switch 2 being it's a better, more powerful Switch, the 3 of us playing Mario Kart let out a collective sigh when we noticed those frame drops. But with 1 to 2 players, ran perfectly fine. Something else I didn't get to comment on my original unboxing video, I did not show off the console docked really properly. And then, the key card slot, what's nice is in the back here, they made it much easier with that little tab there. You can just slip your nail in and this pops right up. And that's a nice, like, solid, you got like a metal housing and your game key card, or just your game card, sits right on top securely. That works really nice. We got nice wiggle room in the dock here, good space to give the console room to breathe, not scratch up that screen, let the fans run. Taking that philosophy of the Switch OLED. And so I did not transfer all my games over to the Switch 2 immediately just to save space on the console. And what I did do is I wanted to test out how it would work playing one game between the 2 systems. And what was nice is when I put in the game card for Super Mario RPG here, it immediately pulled up a little screen that said, you have saved data on your other Switch from yesterday at this time. It tells you the exact timestamp of when you last saved. Would you like to download the save data? So I said yes, and it took like 2 seconds, and then the game booted right up. I was right at where I left off on my original Switch 1. Now we're gonna take out Mario RPG from the Switch 2. I played a little bit of the game to see if it's easy to just pop this into my original Switch. And will it do the same thing where it asks to download the data I just did? Start from this autosave. Was this? No, it did not save state from the Switch 2 to the Switch 1. Okay. So that's gonna take some troubleshooting, but that's troubling. Okay, crisis averted. Basically, it didn't automatically bring my save data from Switch 2, but I was able to just pull up the options and go to Save Data Cloud and click on that and get the backup data. So like if you had 2 Switches before, this is basically how it worked. Just I guess now if you transfer data to the Switch 2, it'll give you a nice little easy to use prompt where it's like, do you want to download the current save data that you have? On the original Switch, you actually have to tell it to pull your original cloud data and like load that. So it's one extra step. I was just fighting to get into the original game card slot of my OLED off screen. I can't emphasize enough how nice it is to have this card slot reader with the little tab in the back. That makes it so much easier to get in and out of the system with game cards. So crazy considering they're pushing an all digital future, because the physical build on this is nice. I like taking in and out the physical media on this guy. Where's the micro SD go? I actually haven't looked for that either. Must go like down here. Yep. Just like with the other one, I'm hiding under the kickstand. So, nice. So this has been my first 12 hours with the Nintendo Switch 2. I've been playing pretty much exclusively in console docked mode, so still can't report on how comfortable it is to play the Switch 2 over longer periods of time, given its larger size. There's better ergonomics on the controllers, but the thing is heavier. How does that kind of translate to long play sessions? I would like to know, but I haven't done the proper research yet on that. So TBD on that front. But console docked using the new Pro controller. I like it quite a lot. It's pretty much like the old Pro controller. Yes, there's differences, which I explained in the unboxing video, but in practice, it's pretty much like the Switch 1 Pro controller. If you have those lying around and don't need game chat, then you're totally fine to get away with the Pro controllers you already have on hand. This is nice, but it's definitely more like luxury. So yeah, that's enough yapping from me. If you enjoyed this little taste of the Switch 2, make sure to subscribe to the channel for all things Nintendo. And by all things Nintendo, I mean whenever I have time to make videos about Nintendo. But you knew we'd be out here Switch 2 launch day. And yeah, subscribing, liking, leaving comments, all of that engagement stuff does genuinely help the channel. So go ahead and do all that stuff. Until then, thank you so much for watching. And don't forget to stay super.